Hi, I'm Don Whittaker, here to analyse the swing of Danny Willett. So we're going to just make a couple of interesting observations from Danny. Obviously some of them have come from himself in articles. One where he says that he struggles with a little bit of flexibility in his hips, and this is noted when we take him to the top of the backswing right here, and we can see quite a limited hip rotation. Now I actually think that this is one of the reasons that he sets the club up quite steeply in the backswing, and also one of the reasons that he works quite intensely on making sure that this right elbow is down and in front at the top, because if he gets that in the wrong position, he's going to end up being trapped on the way down. Now if we go to the video on the right hand side of the screen here, we can obviously see that he's got a fairly strong left hand grip and obviously pretty strong in the right hand. Now what's happening there is he's also got a little bit more weight on his left hand side, but I believe that he prefers to use the left hand side as a bit of an anchor, so that'd be something that he just likes to use as a pivoting point during his swing. Now when we take a look at the driver swing here, what we'd notice is that he very slightly slides off that golf ball in the backswing first move and then makes a rotation from there. So that's because he sits into that left side, then he has to shift and then moves. This actually shifts pressure over to the right side to the top of the backswing. What we'd see is because he has limited mobility in those hips, we won't tend to see that this left knee doesn't come in very much during the backswing. This isn't something that you'd want to particularly copy in your own game, because this is just due to what Danny's limitations are in terms of flexibility. But one thing that I do like in his swing though is the fact that this right elbow is very loaded, and we can see that it is below the left elbow at the top of the backswing. Now as we see on the left hand side of the screen here from down the line, we'll notice that he very quickly sets the golf club up, and then from here we see the shaft's fairly steep at this point. Okay, it's steeper than you would ideally want it to be, but what he's doing is, because he doesn't turn the hips that much in the backswing, if he sets the club up steeper as he is doing here and gets that right elbow loaded down, his arms are more in front of his body. Now what I mean by that is his arms can come back down in front of that toe. If he allowed the arms to work back a little bit deeper, so ideally, or what we're talking about here is getting further away actually on the angle of the arrow here, so the arms would be further back, he'd be very trapped coming into the golf ball. Now, what he then does is he very much allows those hands to start to work forward, and as those hands work forward, the club head works in an opposite direction. So the elbow begins to move forward, the handle goes forwards, and the club head shallows. Okay, but what he does is he does a great job of getting those arms very much back in front of his body at this point. Now, one of the key bits that he does is he keeps this right heel very close to the floor. Okay, now if that right heel came off the floor early and the right knee and hip went out towards the golf ball, with the arm movement he's got and the shallowing of the golf club, he would hit it all over the planet. He can't do that movement. So this allows him to play with the kind of stiffness, tightness he's got in that pelvis region, while still having lots of room to be able to deliver the golf club and shallow the shaft perfectly. Okay, this movement here of getting the elbow and the hands forward is something that people like Hogan did. Okay, lots of players will tend to get the hands going forward, which then will shallow the golf club. Because if the hands go forward, the club head will always go in the opposite direction if it's all loaded correctly at the top of the backswing, and it allows the arms to get lots of space in front of him. One thing he does fantastically well as well is he really gets that left shoulder to clear away from his chin. So we'd see here from this front view, his head stays very stable, whilst that left shoulder we can see already has massively moved away from his chin. So he's clearing that upper body very, very quickly. The left shoulder is moving at a very quick rate, probably quicker than that lower body, or feels like it is anyway, which then will allow him to have a lot of space for those arms to deliver the club into impact. And we can see that that right heel is staying down for a long time through impact. Now an interesting point is that He doesn't have a lot of crossover in the arms. In fact, he keeps that correlation of the triangle between the arms and the body completely together at this point. Now, I believe that what he is doing, he is matching his grip to his release type. So a stronger grip will allow the club face to square perfectly when he keeps the club from kind of closing or having a very quick closure rate through impact here, and that means that he can hit it very, very straight. Okay, and it's kind of the similar-ish release style to the likes of Jordan Spieth and perhaps even a little bit of DJ, but with a lot more extension than Spieth, just due to the fact that he hasn't got a closed club face at the top. Now, the one interesting bit for me that I believe everybody can take out of this is the fact that the way that Danny keeps that heel down, okay, and that pelvis can then be quiet on the way through or staying back without invading space between himself and the ball in this direction. So the heel stays down as the foot rolls across. So we'd see that this is happening now. That right foot is rolling across and everything can then release around. Now, it's very interesting. We're going to have a look at a couple of the shots of the last few holes, the Masters, in just a second, and we can see how he was very conscious of that foot motion coming down the stretch. The first swing here we've got is the tee shot on number 16, and we can see, obviously, sets the club very early, exactly the same as he was doing on the practice ground on the other one, and we can very much see how this right elbow is very much in front of that hip. So then, what I really like of the fact here is that look how quiet that lower body is. That right heel staying on the floor. There's lots of room for those arms to come through, and that means that he then can then deliver the golf club with lots of space. He's then in a little draw into this one. Now, what we're going to do is we'll quickly move forwards from this to the second shot into the 18th. Now, the most interesting thing for me when I was watching this live was that he never got off this back foot truly. I know it was uphill, but to me, he obviously wanted to guarantee to hit this, you know, with lots of accuracy, okay? And it was obviously a high pressure situation. So one of his swing keys from my thought process here is, because you see it quite a few times, is he almost hits the shot and slightly comes backwards. That right heel stays very close to the ground, way after impact here. It's only rolling across now. That right knee is going in towards the side of the left knee in this direction and never going out towards the golf ball. So we see moves in towards the side of the left knee, and then at the end of the follow through here, he then sits back onto it. So for me, he's obviously very, very aware of not letting that foot come right up on its too much towards its toe, which on this situation, or on this shot, would potentially have brought the bunker on the right hand side into play over here with a push shot. So he keeps that heel down, which therefore gives lots of space for those. There's obviously certain things in Danny's swing that are to work around the compensation for the hip tightness, and also he then really part of it is to work with what the strength in the grip. It works with his release type. But I do think that the early set here is definitely to keep those arms up in front of the body to help with the hip tightness, and then the strength of the grip is all to go with the passive release here. But the footwork is tremendous. It's something that we've seen a lot of great players over the years. Hogan, going back into that area there, a lot of those guys had that foot roll. That meant that the knee never went forwards. It gave them lots of room and space for the arms to deliver the club into impact.